Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of today's shooting program. We're so glad to have you with us. You know, friends, I tell you what, the more I read as we speak, as we're taping this today, there's a Million Man March in Washington, and there's so much confusion, so much civil unrest all over this country. And honestly, our socialists, call them friends if you want to, but they're really at the base of so many of our problems. And one of the problems that they have difficulty with us about is they don't believe, our socialist opponents do not believe in the issues of personal liberty. As we said on the program before, the times of personal liberty throughout history have been few and far between. And friends, let me tell you what, we're losing a little bit more ground every day that we don't resist, that we don't write letters, that we don't contact these politicians, that we don't get involved. We're losing more of our liberty privileges every day, our liberty rights, not privileges, but our rights as individuals in this country. Well, we've got another great show for you, friends. Let's get another program underway. In fact, we could start off the show. We have a target out here with, shall we say, a Cadillac gun, such as this Colt Sporter, or let me rephrase that now, thanks to the government and regulations, it's a matched target. This is an H-bar, but let's do something different. Let's start off with one of the lowliest handguns, one of the most inexpensive, sometimes criticized, but just watch this. This is an RG and 22 long rifle. We have our steel plate out here at about 20 yards. Well, friends, we're looking at, shall we say, a gun that does not have the most, shall we say, respect among serious gun enthusiasts. However, and honestly, I was not expecting very much. The good folks at Britain's have loaned us this RG-22, and it is a double-action revolver, somewhat unsophisticated as for what we're normally used to. But let me show you something that is really important. Watch this. Now then, friends, what you saw was this little thing is reliable and it does work. It is not terribly accurate, but you know what? This gun is priced, I believe, of course it's used, and RG, to my knowledge, is no longer shipping guns to this country. I don't even know if they're still in business or not. It is not made of the most expensive materials. It does not have the smoothest action, but you know what? It works. 49 bucks and it works. Some people in Congress and other places have called little guns like this Saturday night specials. Well, you know what? I really don't believe in the term Saturday night special, because I just don't think, I can't imagine it being fun in anybody's mind to get drunk on Saturday night and use one of these for robbery or whatever else. However, this little gun, believe it or not, is more accurate than I thought it was going to be, and as we said earlier, it has been reliable. Now, we hadn't shot it a whole lot, and no, I wouldn't go out and shoot this gun 5,000 times because I just don't know how it would hold up. I don't know. I've never shot one over a box of shells, I suppose. But the thing is, if you're someone who cannot afford, say, a $400, $500, $600 semi-automatic or a revolver, maybe you need a gun real bad, and maybe $50 is all you've got. Well, believe it or not, this little RG, there could be a lot worse choices for self-defense. Now, we don't normally advocate a 22 long rifle for self-defense, but if your bullet placement is correct, something like Stinger ammunition, well, performance can really surprise you with one of these. You know, so many of our gun laws originate in trying to keep people from having, or a particular group from having weapons. Years ago, there were laws passed that specifically tried to keep the blacks from having firearms. There were other laws passed in New York that specifically targeted groups of immigrants that the establishment at that time felt like, well, they're not quite as good as the rest of us, so they really don't need to be armed. They don't need to enjoy all the rights of the Constitution, and we really don't trust these people that we don't know, and they don't understand our language that well. We don't know them, so we don't trust them to have guns. Well, what has happened, these laws have been turned around to be used on the original citizens who were here, the descendants of the original citizens. So it has really backfired. You know, any time that a group wants to take freedom away from another group, that is a serious mistake because it winds up affecting everyone. So what we need is more freedom. And like Jeff Cooper said a while back, in a society, an armed society is a polite society. You know, I don't have a problem with everybody else having guns, none whatsoever, as long as I can have mine and I can protect myself and my family. So this RG, like I said, has really surprised me. I didn't really think it was going to be that reliable, but hey, it has been. Let's take a closer look at it, show you how it works. Now you can see, friends, it has very rudimentary sights. It is a double action revolver with a pretty stiff trigger pull. Now then, to open the cylinder, bring it out, you have to unscrew the central pin here, which does, no, it is not a fast reload. Of course, we just shot it 6 times, and the empties have to be poked out one at a time. And again, it is not a real fast system, but it is very reliable. This is the sort of gun that for the price that it is, you're not going to see a lot of features, but I tell you what, it does have some robust looking parts. And I'm not making a general approval on all RG products because I've seen some that did not function very well, but this one certainly does. What you do, of course, you just load the gun. We'll do that in a second. And push the cylinder in and put the pin back in it, and that's how the gun is loaded. Now then, friends, we've loaded the gun. Let's go ahead and put the cylinder in and put our pin in place, and it's really not that hard to do. And let's take some shots with it. We have our target out here at a few yards, and let's just see what it does. Take about 3 single action here. Now let's go ahead and double action the gun. Now then, let's go up and look at our target and see what it looks like. Now, friends, as you can tell, we got 4 holes there in the tape, looks like, and 1 there at the bottom and 1 over to the right. Of course, I assume that was one of my double action shots. Again, better accuracy than we would think. If you worked with the gun, heck, it might even qualify as a trail gun. Now, friends, admittedly, this RG is not going to win any beauty contests. It's probably not going to win any accuracy contests, but you know what? We had a $1,500 custom semi-automatic that we were out here testing a while back that would not work reliably with factory ammunition. We have another custom large semi-automatic gun that costs around $1,000 that we've been testing for a while. It's not reliable. Well, guess what? Here's a $49 RG22 that goes bang every time it's supposed to. And the first requirement of a gun that would ever be used for any sort of home defense or defensive purpose, regardless what caliber it's in, it has got to be reliable. It has got to work when it's called on. But we've had malfunctions with every known action type. I mean, you can make any of them jam. But this gun anyway, this particular model, has proved to be very reliable for us, more accurate than I certainly would have thought, and a good camping or trail gun, and then for someone who just flat couldn't afford anything else, this would be a gun to have until you could afford to move up in quality to a 38 or some other caliber gun. Hey, this old RG, it works when it's supposed to. All right, friends, we had some calls this week about the Hart's recoil reducer for the 45 service model, or the government model 45, and briefly let me show you how this thing works. It comes in a little tube like this, and what it amounts to is you have a full-length guide rod for the 45. Of course, your recoil spring will go on this, and of course the plug here that will spring retainer. And what it amounts to, this thing has mercury in it, and you shake it, you can feel it. And if my understanding is correct, it has some little ball bearings inside there that what it does, it retards the recoil of the 45 ACP. Now, yesterday we were out doing some experiments with my old Colt here, and for 5 shots I picked up about 1/10 of a second in speed, and that's what we noticed, and you just don't get quite as much of a sensation of recoil in these government models. Of course, we were shooting full charge loads. So what it means at the end of the day, really, You certainly do get a little bit of speed between shots because your gun is just not recoiling quite as hard. But you don't notice it that much. But at the end of the day, you notice your hand is not as tired because it just hadn't had the recoil put back in your hand. This does definitely, apparently, it spreads out the recoil over a longer period of time. Now, to install it is very simple, and yes, we know that this gun is unloaded. Check them 3 times, of course. We'll take our Colt down very simply, and anyway, take our plug off there, bring it back, take it out. Now then, we'll just go ahead and take out the recoil guide here for the Colt, take it off the spring. Very simple. And we put the guide rod in here first. Now this is certainly how I do it, and there may be other ways, but this is the way that I'm aware of. And then we'll put the spring on the recoil reducer or the guide rod there, and with my old springs tight there, yes. All right, get it down in place. And then you just simply put the gun back together, and this is about as quick a modification as can possibly be made. And get it in place there. There it is. Like so. And then just slip the spring plug there, retaining plug, on over the top of it there, and push it down flush, of course. It's that simple, and now it's ready to go. So the Hart's recoil reducer, they're from Cleveland, Ohio. And if you'd like information on this, get a pencil now. You may want to write this down. This is not a commercial for them, but they are nice people. And what so impressed me, you know, we had one of these malfunction some time ago, as will all parts, and no questions asked. They just replaced it. So they are very worthwhile people, and these products do work. Their phone number in Cleveland, Ohio, area 216-273-9450. Again, area 216-273-9450. And they have these recoil reducers for a number of different guns. So this is one of those simple little things that you can do to modify your 1911 or some other automatic, for that matter, whatever you may have, because they do make quite a number of these kits. And it's just that simple to install, and they do work.
Don't go away. The Shootin' Show will be right back after these very important messages.
Get your hands off that gun, bow, or fishing rod. Holding onto your equipment while you're going through the woods or climbing a hill is fatiguing and possibly dangerous. The versatile Tri-Tote all-season carrier is easy to use. You never have to drill a hole in your fine gun stock. And the Tri-Tote can be set up for your specific needs in a jiffy. Just follow the illustrated instructions and free demo video enclosed. There you are, hands-free, yet ready to shoot in an instant. Hunting and fishing have never been more enjoyable. With Tri-Tote, your equipment is secure and your hands are free to support yourself or carry other gear. How did you ever get along without Tri-Tote? Make this year's hunting and fishing the best ever. To order your Tri-Tote at this special TV price, call toll-free 1-800-231-1443. That's 1-800-231-1443.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Friends, we hope you're enjoying our program this week. We're over today in the judge's office, and
on a Saturday. That's why I don't have time.
On a Saturday, but we're certainly glad that you folks can be with us. Sir, I think you have some information. One, I know you and I want to talk about this Amtrak disaster out in the western United States. You know, do I smell a hint of Oklahoma City on this?
Sure you do.
Well, you know, already the hue and cry has come up from the government about investigating militia groups in that area. And what in the world? It's just another ploy. Bill Clinton's back on the phone trying to get his anti-terrorism bill supported in Congress. Sir, what do you think?
Well, I don't necessarily think anything about it. I do know that that there are some very serious questions to be answered, and we don't know who that group was.
Or even if it was a group.
Or even if it was a group. Could have been an individual, could have been an inside group, deal. Could have been something that the administration precipitated so that they'd have an excuse to holler about the crime, the anti-terrorism bill. Let me get to that as we go along. Last week, I told you about a letter that purports to have the signature of Bill Clinton at the bottom, addressed to the Honorable Rowlands Shootin, who is a senator from Pennsylvania. And I frankly do not know if the letter is genuine or not. It was forwarded to me by some groups that kind of keep track of these things. And I think I left off by saying that there's no food shortage in the United States, that I could go to the supermarket and get all the food I wanted, and some more if I could pay for it. So I want to go down through the rest of this letter because I think this is important. Second paragraph. Now, due to the impact that is now having upon the present stock level of the national food supply, this will involve confiscation. Listen to that, confiscation of food supplies beyond 30 days, but beyond a 30-day supply, arrest or removal of those who are stockpiling. Now, I don't like the word removal. That's what they did at Waco. They removed some people. It's what they did at Ruby Ridge. They removed some people. And besides, who's going to know how much food you got in your house? I want you to fill out a form or something, or have the federal police come in and check your food supply. Let me tell you, I've got a bottle of Tabasco at home, and that bottle of Tabasco is more than a 30-day supply. It's a 30-year supply as far as I'm concerned. We have it there for our friends who may come and who want Tabasco. I certainly don't want it, but it's a way over a 30-day supply. Furthermore, I've had it for a good many years. I don't like that word removal of those who are stockpiling, or talking about the national stock level of the national food supply that's diminishing. We're still paying farmers not to farm. We're paying farmers to keep their cropland idle. There's no shortage of food in this country. There wasn't even a shortage during World War II, when it was an all-out war, and millions of draftees in uniform, and having to ship food over to them, and having half the ships that were carrying it sunk. There still wasn't any shortage of food supply. But the next paragraph, that's another thing that really gets me. This action by these Christian, Mormon, and other cult groups, I'll bet that everybody watching this program is a Christian. Or certainly the great majority. Did you know that you were in a cult? That's a cult? And I don't know what he thinks Mormons are. I think Mormons are Christians. And then he says, and other cult groups. That is so outrageous that in and of itself, there ought to be enough to get rid of it. And if any of you that listen to Mormons or viewing are Mormons, remember, Clinton's put you in a cult group. And I can tell you out west, if you insult the Mormons, you're in bad trouble.
Well, you know, personally, I don't like I've never considered myself in a cult. Someone who is, what's the definition of cult? Someone who,
It's somebody Clinton doesn't like. Well, isn't that true?
well, it's true. That's right.
You know, the Branch Davidians weren't bothering anybody. They'd been there for years and years and years. They weren't bothering anybody until the feds decided to make a big assault on them. The authority by which that Clinton is referring to here is enforcing Executive Order 10998. And 10998 is an executive order, and I don't know where this business of executive orders came from, but don't think that you can't be picked up and imprisoned, because that's what happens to the Japanese Americans who were American citizens during World War II. They were rounded up and stuck in concentration camps, and I think that was outrageous. Now, I had a strong feeling about the Japanese as anybody did, because I was on a submarine and I was in the service.
Well, while the war, I mean, while we were fighting the Japanese, I mean, that, but there again, when was how the executive order situation? Was that some kind of war powers, something? I mean, how'd they get?
It may have started that way. I don't know. There's a little explanation on here, but anyhow, let me tell you what Executive Order 10998 is. It seizes you of all food supplies and resources, public and private, all farms and farm equipment.
So you're saying that with the stroke of a pen, Bill Clinton could take over everything, all the farms and farm equipment, everything with the stroke of a pen. Is that right?
That's what it appears to be, or at least he thinks he can. The question comes up, what are executive orders? They are laws established by the President by himself without the benefit of Congress. And they create an end run around the provisions of the Constitution, which I thought applied to everybody, and I still think it applies to everybody. The laws begin as executive orders, which are simply printed in the Federal Register. How many of you have ever looked at a Federal Register? I have, because I'm an attorney. I don't look at it very often. And after having been printed in the Federal Register, in 30 days it become law, then they're treated as if they were law. We don't need a Congress if the executive is going to do all of those things. Of course, our whole idea was to create separate departments of government so that nobody could seize power. And these executive orders are a direct pathway to seizing power.
Well, wouldn't that almost make a president king? Almost, if taken literally, the executive orders.
I would prefer a different word. Dictator.
Dictator.
A monarchy is one thing, a dictator is another. There's a nice little brochure here on executive orders that I picked up at the Soldier of Fortune Convention. It's put out by the militia of Montana. It's good. They trace the history of executive orders. And they talk about the New World Order, but that also disturbed me. If any of you want a copy of this, you can either write or call the militia of Montana.
M-O-M.
That's right, militia of Montana. Their post office box is 1486, and they're in Noxon, N-O-X-O-N, Montana, and the zip code there is 59853. They have a telephone, and they'll send you stuff if you write them and ask them. That the telephone number is area code 406, and then the number 847-2246. Let me repeat that. Area code 406-847-2246. I found this to be a very illuminating little item. If you want full copies of the executive orders, you'd have to get that CD-ROM and know how to use it, which is a whole trick all by itself. To be able to pull them up and see exactly what they are, what they say. Because obviously these are just quick summaries. When somebody says, seize of all food supply and resources, public and private, all farms and farm equipment. Got a fax from the NRA a little while ago, today, At least I guess it was today. It may have been last night. They're announcing that Executive Vice President of the NRA, Wayne LaPierre, will take to the airways of the NBC radio network for 2 hours of unedited, undistorted, and undiluted truth about guns, crime, and freedom. Now, that's on October 15th. That's Monday. Time you all watch this will be past Monday. From 8 to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah, that hits some prime time stuff, and it may hit a lot of, well, it won't hit the churchgoers on Wednesday, because that's Wednesday night. This is Tuesday night.
Well, Judge, you know, I'm glad that Wayne LaPierre is getting some airtime anywhere, and I wish the NRA would support us, because we could give them airtime.
Yeah, and it's not subject to being taken off either.
That's right.
The show is being offered by NBC on a trial basis, so only a modest number of the 300 independently owned NBC stations will air Sunday's program. They may or they may not. I would strongly recommend to you that you call your NBC affiliate in your city, your town, and ask them to please carry that AM radio. I think it's AM radio.
Well, see, that's what's so unbelievable. Well, it's NBC radio. Well, heck, Judge, I don't know what the NBC affiliate here is, if there is one. I guess they can listen to the news.
You can look in the phone book probably in the Yellow Pages and probably find out. But NBC, National Broadcasting Company, is what that NBC stands for. I don't know what CBS stands for.
Well, let me put in one word for us here.
Unfortunately, I think I do know what CBS stands for, and I don't like it.
Oh, certainly. If you get a chance, some of you out there have fax machines, you might fax Wayne LaPierre and tell him that the shooting show is here, reaching 30 million plus households a week, and we don't understand why the NRA, don't they do guns? Isn't that what they're about? So yes, I'm a little upset about that. But we would like to work with them, but we need to work on that. Anyway, sir.
Well,
someone might be wondering why we're talking about food supply and all on executive order, because one, that is absolutely affects our personal freedom. I mean, if you don't have anything to eat, you are a prisoner of whatever. If you don't have things to eat. But there are so many other facets. I mean, Clinton could have an executive order saying, well, let's pick up all the guns. And
well, as a matter of fact, there are some things like that. 11003 seizes all airports and aircraft.
And wait a minute, friends, this is not something that's brand new. These things have actually been on the books for a while, right?
Yeah, probably not completely by Clinton. How about 11,000? Executive Order 11,000. Seizure of all American people for workforces under federal supervision, including the splitting up of families if the government decides to do that.
Now, wait a minute. Wait just a doggone minute. That's insane. But of course, all these, I'm assuming, were written up under the guise of wartime or national emergencies. And this is what makes FEMA so doggone dangerous. Federal Emergency Management Administration. Well, you know, friends, all you have to have a federal emergency is somebody to declare it. Am I correct?
That, as I see it, is a case. And believe me, I was paranoid about the elections this last time because I could see what was happening. I could see what was coming. And obviously, the administration did not see through that. Because I was afraid then, and I voiced it on this program, that Clinton might seize on some opportunity to declare a national emergency, put all these executive orders into effect, and cancel the elections. Cancel the elections. And he thinks he's going to lose this next time. Then
this is not a joke. What you're saying is a real possibility. I mean, look at their logic already. We've seen Clinton and crew in action. If you don't think we hadn't seen them in action, what about the action in Waco or Ruby Ridge? That's just a precursor to things that they could have in store. Am I right, sir?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, somebody said that Ruby Ridge was just a dress rehearsal for Waco.
You know, Carrie, I think it's as important for you ladies to know how to use these firearms as it is for us men. But you know, there's something else. We can have firearms for defense of our homes and certainly for sport, but we also need information.
Yes, I agree. I think the New American Magazine is the best source of information available in this country.
Well, I would certainly agree. The New American Magazine is the truth and nothing but the truth. And friends, if you would like to know what is really going on in this country and around the world, if you want, in fact, the truth, well, you need to get the New American Magazine. So here's how to do it.
You can get the New American by calling 1-800-727-TRUE. And those numbers, of course, are 1-800-727-8783. The New American, $22 for a 6-month subscription. It comes twice a month.
Now, friends, with your new Shootin' Show subscription, they will also send you a free copy of what the United Nations is bringing to all of us. So this is very important. Subscribe today. You know, friends, in times like these, which indeed are strange times, we certainly need our firearms, but we also need the information about what's really going on. Order today.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
You know, friends, this government Model 45 and this civilian version of the AR-15 or M16, which is our Colt Sporter, Match Target, H-Bar, whatever you want to call it. They call it a lot of things now. But they are two of the finest examples of the type firearms that they are. Certainly a semi-automatic pistols goes, well, this 1911, as far as I'm concerned, is the high watermark. And the AR-15 system has proven itself throughout the world as being a very functional, one of the very best weapons of its type. It performed very well in Desert Storm. But you know what? Neither one of these guns will perform at all without proper ammunition. Well, what about us as physical beings? We are many times more complicated as far as our physical body than any of these firearms. We are much, much more complicated. And guess what? We can't run at optimum efficiency. We can't run like we're supposed to, like our body's designed to, without proper components. And that's what's so important. Friends, our health club is doing great. So many people are calling and writing to us with fabulous results. Like I said, I've said a dozen times, if I've said it once, this is one of the great discoveries of my adult life, because literally it takes, if you're middle-aged like I am, it will take you back in time. It will give you more energy. You will feel better. You'll resist diseases better. And one of the things that is so neat that has come along, they have a weight management program that we're dealing with through the health club. Weight management now. So many of you have tried diets, you've tried all kinds of diet plans and things, and what happens? You lose a lot of weight, and guess what? You gain it all back. This is a weight management program, whereas one, it will help you lose weight, help you to feel better, give you more energy, and then you can keep it off. You can remain whatever size that you want to be. You can remain there. This is what is so important, our health weight management program. For information, please give us a call, area 800, see, free call, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your name, address, phone number. We'll get some information out to you immediately. We'll have somebody call you. Friends, you can certainly help our program by participating in our health club, but guess what? You can darn sure help yourselves more than that. 1-800-895-7916. For health club information, give us a call, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your name, address, and phone number. Someone will get back to you as soon as possible. Friends, this is such a wonderful thing. Do it for yourselves today.
All right, we want to get the quote assault weapon close quote ban out of the crime bill. And that's House Bill 1488. There have been some things tagged on it that we don't like. GOA doesn't like it with those things tagged on it. But the NRA is working to get those things taken off. And as I understand it, they are taken off. It's legislation to repeal Clinton's 1994 gun and magazine ban. Picked up new co-sponsors this week, but we have a long way to go. You need to ask your representative to please be a co-sponsor of House Resolution 1488. And we also need to ask them to support the Smith Amendment and the Istock Amendment. The Smith Amendment is, I've got it in here somewhere. Believe me, the Smith Amendment is fine. I can't tell you exactly what it is right now because I don't have those notes in front of me. But the Istock Amendment, I know what it is. The Istock Amendment gets donations from the federal government, grants they call it, from these non-profit organizations such as Handgun Control to operate their lobbying efforts with. But NRA doesn't get anything. GOA doesn't get anything. We want to stop these so-called non-profit organizations from getting federal funds to lobby Congress. And hopefully that'll be one of the things that comes out of it.
Well, you know, this past week I heard something about an organization that I believe is Planned Parenthood gets a fantastic amount of money from the government. And then they're lobbying, that's another one of these organizations that is very controversial. And I didn't realize that the government money was going to some of these things. And of course, they're lobbying congressmen with our own money.
You know, Handgun Control Incorporated actually said something to my wife. My wife? I can hardly believe it. I feel like taping it up to a brick and shipping it back to them, postage collect.
Well, you know, Judge, you brought something up that I think is extremely important. Friends, the reason we're in the mess we're in, most of us as conservatives just want to be left alone. Well, you know, these nut groups, there aren't that many people in the ultra-liberal nut groups, but you know what they're willing to do? They're willing to work. And conservative sometimes rhymes with tight. And I say tight there are so many very fine people, conservative people out there who will not give of their time and their money to support our absolute causes that are necessities. And we've seen this in our own industry, the gun industry. What's more conservative than that? Of not willing to spend time or money, even on our behalf. We've had such trouble getting support from the gun industry. They don't understand how important what we're doing is. And like we said, the percentage of people in the nut groups, Handgun Control, some of these other things, that's my opinion. Yes, they are a nut group. They don't have that many people, but doggone it, they're willing to give up their time and their money because even though we completely disagree with them, they believe what they're doing.
Well, I don't know I don't know what they believe in. They may not.
We don't know.
They may not believe in what they're doing, except that what they're doing is a precursor to what they want to do.
That's right. What they want to happen.
And that's what
Socialist America's what they want.
That's what Ms. Brady did. Sarah Brady said to Senator Metzenbaum from Ohio that we will never be able to achieve our dream of a socialist America until we totally disarm all those persons who would never consent.
Well, you're exactly right. And see, they're working day and night. They have people. They don't mind spending the money. They don't mind spending the time. And that's how all this ludicrous stuff has been enacted. That's how it's been recommended. That's why somebody like Bill Clinton is in office today, because our people laid around and did not make the effort. And just like these phone calls, just like these faxes to these representatives, friends, it's got to be done. If we don't do it, who's going to?
Well, you know, back in 1975, we were facing exactly the same things we're facing today, perhaps on a little smaller scale, perhaps slightly less intrusive, but nevertheless there. And we had a regional NRA meeting in Memphis, hosted by some retired Army general who was working for the NRA at the time. And I raised all manner of cane at that conference, that the NRA was going about this thing backwards. They're waiting until somebody got elected and then trying to lobby them. And that's the wrong way. You need to be working for the person you want elected, so that you won't have as much trouble in lobbying them later on. You cannot remain passive in politics. You've got to be active. I was trying to get them to get stirred up enough to send delegates to the convention to vote for Ronald Reagan. That's my specific aim at the time. And you know, just very shortly after that, ILA was established. And ILA has grown. They've gotten up to the point now where they even sent, as I mentioned on the program last week, they even sent a complete list of everybody running for the state legislature, Senate and House, to all NRA members in the state. Well, that's when I said that they were a good organization and a smart organization, but they're not as smart as they think they are, because they goofed up on some ratings on people that I know. But their effort is there. We don't have a big problem in Louisiana because they never even got a bill out of committee so far. Got it out once accidentally, and we had it remanded to the committee, and they died there. It just means, again, as I've preached before, time and time again, you must be active in the political arena. I would vote, I'm a Republican, but if I were in Rhode Island, for example, I think that's where Senator Chaffee is from, and as a Republican, he was running for re-election, and there was a Democrat that was more acceptable to me, I'd vote for the Democrat. I think that with the Republican leadership in Congress, that you got a better deal. But please understand me, I don't support everything that the Republican leadership wants. I don't support everything probably that anybody wants. But that gets down again to the thing that I've said before. I want you to listen to it again. The wise, the honest, the intelligent should vote. And if you are none of these, then for the love of your country, stay away from the polls. Stay away from the polls.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
You know, friends, it's rare in any field of manufacture that one particular company has a clear-cut advantage over the others. Well, in this case, it's Corbin Ammunition, Corbin Bullet Company, because they make the best handgun, long gun, and even some specialty caliber ammunition that's been real hard to get in the past. If you really want your handgun or rifle to perform at their absolute best, you need to find some Corbin ammunition. For information on where you can get Corbin, information on their product line, call them. Corbin Bullet Company, 1-800-626-7266. Again, give them a call. It's a free call, 1-800-626-7266. Trust me on this one. Corbin is the best there is. You know, friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Give them a call, 1-800-345-6923, a very inexpensive subscription price. Again, 1-800-345-6923. Subscribe today. The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
1600s, many attempts were made to improve upon the ignition of the matchlock. Some of these you might be familiar with, such as this wheel lock. Though very reliable, the wheel lock was slow to operate, expensive to manufacture, and difficult to maintain in the field. The wheel lock used hardened iron and a lump of iron pyrite in order to throw sparks and ignite the charge. This idea carried forward using hardened iron and a piece of flint and resulted in another weapon, the snaffons. After suitable modification, this evolved into the flintlock. Our sample today is a reproduction of a British Brown Bess and is quite representative of all flintlock smoothbore muskets. Though it may look a bit strange today, the flintlock was, for its day and age, quite simple and reliable. A hammer was mounted on the side of the weapon, powered by a spring and released by a trigger. This hammer had a set of screw jaws which held a piece of flint rigidly in place. At a point under the hammer's arc of travel, a touch hole was drilled to the interior of the barrel. Underneath this touch hole, a pan was mounted on the side of the weapon in which priming powder could be placed. On the forward edge of this pan, another spring-powered part, the frizzen, was mounted on a hinge. This frizzen served double duty. When the weapon was cocked, it covered the pan, keeping the priming powder in place. When the hammer was released and traveled forward, the flint struck the upper wing of the frizzen, causing sparks and knocking the frizzen forward. These sparks then fell into the pan, igniting the priming powder. As manufacturing and metallurgical skill increased, the weapons were made stronger. The shoulder-fired weapon decreased in weight to the point where a man could hold and fire it without use of the fork rest. Many methods of combining the pike with a firearm were tried, such as this plug bayonet. For obvious reasons, the plug bayonet was not entirely satisfactory. Within a few short years, however, this had evolved into the socket bayonet, wherein a sleeve slipped over and locked onto the outside of the muzzle of the weapon. These developments all came together in the Flintlock smoothbore musket, which was in general issue by the early 1700s. The Flintlock smoothbore was loaded from a paper cartridge. This is not a cartridge as you understand it today, but simply a paper envelope containing a pre-measured amount of powder and a leaden ball. The soldier drew the paper cartridge from his ammunition pouch and tore the cartridge in half by biting on the ball and wrenching the remainder of the paper away. He then poured a small amount of powder into the priming pan, closed the frizzen, and dropped the butt on the ground. The remainder of the powder was poured down the barrel and the paper discarded. He then took the leaden ball from his teeth and dropped it down the barrel, discarding any paper which remained. You should note that though the bore of the Brown Bess ran from 73 to 75 caliber, it fired a 69 caliber ball. All Flintlock smoothbores used balls of similar undersized dimensions. This was done because black powder, a mixture of charcoal, saltpeter, and sulfur, left behind large quantities of fouling in the barrel. If the weapon was to be loaded after 4 or 5 shots, this gap between the ball and barrel had to exist or the ball could not be rammed home. After dropping the ball into the barrel, the soldier withdrew the ramrod, rammed the ball home, and returned the ramrod underneath the barrel. He then placed the weapon to his shoulder and pulled the trigger. You should also understand that the soldier did not aim. The sloppy fit between barrel and ball made the weapon hopelessly inaccurate. Aiming, therefore, was really of no consequence whatsoever. What you think is a front sight mounted on this weapon is in fact a bayonet lug. It couldn't be placed on the underside of the weapon because that's where the ramrod had to go. In use, the whole thing looked something like this. Our shooter has fired 5 shots in roughly 1 minute and 12 seconds. You can see how much fouling has been left behind on the weapon and on his hands with such relatively little firing. His target represented a formation of men. The inaccuracy of the weapon is readily obvious. The 5 hits from 7 shots total are circled in red. On our chart, however, the Brown Bess looks quite good. You will note that it has roughly the same range as the Matchlock, and yet its volume of fire is easily triple that of the Matchlock. Further, the chart does not tell the whole story. With the bayonet affixed to this weapon, there was no longer a need for the pike. Now every man could be issued a musket, and every man could fire. The changes wrought by the emphasis on gunfire were immense. Gone were the tercios of the Spanish and the brigades of the Swedish. Instead, the line formation was instituted. Depending upon the nation involved, this varied from 2 to 5 ranks deep and generally employed volley fire by platoon or by rank. Though the line formation does allow every man to fire his weapon, it is unwieldy. This created a need for drill. The musket's rate of fire depended upon its mechanical manipulation by the soldier. This created still more need for drill. You should also remember that the weapon had to be fired from a standing position, and that most of the time the soldier was working on loading the musket, not on firing it. Since he was 60 yards or less from the enemy, the volleys that came crashing into his ranks killed or wounded many of those about him. The only way to keep the soldier efficiently at his task of loading and firing the musket was to emphasize discipline and drill above all other soldierly qualities. The smoothbore musket in line formation evolved into what we call linear warfare. It was carried to its height by Frederick the Great. In addition to instituting a rigidity in drill and discipline which no other army could match, Frederick also introduced the iron ramrod. Unlike the normal wooden ramrod of the day, the iron ramrod could be plied vigorously, regardless of how fouled the barrel became. In Frederick's army, rates of fire frequently reached 5 rounds per minute, and his battalions took on the nickname of walking batteries. A good example of the effect of this volume of fire is the Battle of Minden in 1759. In this battle, the Prussians, with their Hanoverian and British allies, literally blew the French cavalry off the field with a storm of lead. Cavalry never again formed up on the main line of battle. Despite this emphasis on fire, one cannot ignore the bayonet. Even 5 rounds a minute could not always prevent enemy infantry or cavalry from reaching your position. But the bayonet could stop the horses of the cavalry, and when the enemy was demoralized by the untiring fury of the crashing volleys, he could frequently be pushed from the field by the judicious application of the bayonet. Though it may look crude today, the Flintlock smoothbore musket was a vast improvement over anything that had gone before. When complemented with the organization, the drill, the tactics, the drill, the discipline, and the incessant, mind-numbing drill of linear warfare, the Flintlock smoothbore and the bayonet were extremely effective weapons.
Get your hands off that gun, bow, or fishing rod. Holding onto your equipment while you're going through the woods or climbing a hill is fatiguing and possibly dangerous. The versatile Tri-Tote all-season carrier is easy to use. You never have to drill a hole in your fine gun stock. And the Tri-Tote can be set up for your specific needs in a jiffy. Just follow the illustrated instructions and free demo video enclosed. There you are, hands-free, yet ready to shoot in an instant. Hunting and fishing have never been more enjoyable. With Tri-Tote, your equipment is secure and your hands are free to support yourself or carry other gear. How did you ever get along without Tri-Tote? Make this year's hunting and fishing the best ever. To order your Tri-Tote at this special TV price, call toll-free 1-800-231-1443. That's 1-800-231-1443.
This is it, the product that all gun collectors, hunters, and enthusiasts have been waiting for. It's Sweet Shooter. This amazing space-age product protects your valuable guns and knives. No more rusting, no more corroding, no more time-consuming cleanups, no more fouling. Recommended by the North American Hunting Club and Murray State College, Sweet Shooter provides greater accuracy, higher velocity, longer life, smoother action. You don't want to be without the protection only Sweet Shooter can give you. Like nothing else on the market today, it solves all your gun care problems. Only $19.95. So grab your credit card and call today. Sweet Shooter!